a screenshot or recorded, whatever.
Okay. So my poster is about the challenges of teaching with technological support. And so which is somewhat that during this particular time, so during this pandemic, has been sort of unavoidable for everyone that is teaching. And I know that some of the lecturers, not only from this university, but from everywhere, were somewhat reluctant to do online teaching because, well, they don't give it a chance, no? And so the topic on which I focused to do my poster was to be attentive to the fact that although technology can become a bridge and a tool to help students interact with the material, it can also become problematic, for instance, to further disadvantage certain students with special requirements, right? And it also means that staff, so the instructors, must become proficient in these technological tools so that they can use the software to the best of the capabilities, right? And so what I'm showing here today is some desk research on the topic of technology in teaching. And I will be speaking about the most prominent tools and what are the challenges that I have identified both for learners and instructors, right? So when we speak about the technology in teaching, most of us are thinking on lecture presentation so far. So sort of like preparing slides in a PowerPoint. But then here becomes very important that so these slides are not, or they shouldn't be like any type of slide, but they have to be thought in the sense that well, some of our students may have different requirements. For instance, they could be visually impaired, right? So we have to keep that into account. And to make these presentations interesting and to keep the students like focus on the content that's being delivered, well, some study by Morton has shown that it's better to have a nonlinear progression on the material, so that is not like monotonous class in which the rhythm and the tone of the speaker is always the same, like plain, and people end up falling asleep, right? And so another way in which we can use technology to help students engaging with the class, and I'm not speaking only about doing online lectures or sessions, but using technology in the classroom, so in a physical classroom, is the usage of the so-called audience response systems, which are like applications or software that they can download to their phones, to their tablets, to even their laptops. In that way, they can become participants, like active participants in the lecture, where the instructor asks a question and they have some time to participate in answering the questions, right? And here it's important to speak about these distractions, right? Because when you introduce a mobile phone or a tablet to the classroom, sort of you have to trust that they will be using these tools for the purpose of the lecture and not to chat or to watch videos in YouTube or whatnot, right? So although these tools can make the lectures more interactive, they can also introduce a source of distractions, right? And so Caldwell has identified that we can use some clickers, and these are like devices that we can click, like the controls of a gaming setup, like a PlayStation or whatever, to choose from a series of possibilities in sort of live quizzes. But there are other applications that you can download to the phone, such as Kahoot and Plickers, that can be used to boost the interaction of students in the lectures. And this not only helps students interact with the material, but also allows a more direct feedback from the students to the instructor to see to identify what is not working very good for them. And the last sort of tools that we think about when we think about technology in the classroom is the virtual learning environment, right? So like screencast, which is essentially what we are doing now. So we are doing a live presentation that's being recorded. And so we have the visual material. So in my case, it would be the poster I'm presenting right now. Mixing it with audiovisual components, which is, well, essentially in this case, it's me explaining the poster and drawing your attention to specific parts of the material, right? And so although this can be broadcasted to students, right? So this could be made live, so as we are doing now, but it can also be recorded for students to come back to this afterwards, right? And it has been, so there have been studies such as the one from Morris and Chivka that showed that when we do this kind of screencast, the achievement of students increases. And the evidence of that is that the marks also increases.
6 minutes?
Sorry?
6 minutes now.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. And so we also have the virtual classrooms, which is the sort of things that we were doing with Megan. So having sessions mediated by the computer through Big Blue Button, for instance. And this helps reducing the anonymity of students, so they feel part of the module and are more willing to participate and ask questions, right? And this has also been evidenced by Weimar. So these are the tools, right? And now we have to speak about the challenges, right? So on the one hand, we have economical challenges, which are that, okay, so this is all very nice, but having requiring students to, for instance, to buy a laptop to have access to the lectures is unethical. And it could be that the students, they can really not afford to having these technological tools, right? So we have to be careful about that, so that the technology does not become yet another barrier for students to achieve, right? Now, these response systems that I was speaking about, so the clickers and the applications, they don't necessarily have to be implemented with expensive materials, but they can also be used with their own devices, like in Kahoot and clickers, or they can also be, so for instance, we can ask questions where the students can choose from 4 choices. We give them color cards, which they can raise with their hands, so that we have this participation without the economical strain on the students, right? And another thing that we can think about to prevent this economic challenge to affect students is to bring physical copies of the materials that is going to be presented and hand them in to the students, so that they don't have to print them themselves, right? So that they don't have to pay for the printing, for accessing the information, right? And if we go to technical challenges, well, as I mentioned in the beginning, introducing these technological tools means that the instructors also have to be proficient in this software, meaning that, well, they have to learn, and so they have to become, again, learners of the technological platforms to then use them to the best of the capabilities. And that's something that the institutions, such as the universities or colleges or teaching institutions, should promote staff to take part in modules where they can learn how to use these aids. And well, this should not come to a cost to the staff, but they should be well, paid by the institutions, right? Otherwise, that would be like well, they would not be as motivated to take part of these modules, right? And then we have to think about engagement. And I don't know if you are teaching at the moment at the university, but during this semester that we finished during the COVID situation, it was very tricky to keep the students engaged in the material, right? It could be because they have caring obligations, because they don't have access to internet at home, because they don't have laptops, and so there are many reasons why they were not able to engage. But we really need to think about how to best engage students with the material, right? Mm-hmm. And just if you let me finish with the conclusions. Teaching and learning with technology, with the aid of the technology, well, it's a challenge for instructors and learners. And I don't think any of us can foresee what these tools may look like in 10 years' time, right? And instructors and institutions should develop strategies that allow these technological tools to be useful for students without becoming another source of disadvantage for the learners. And okay, so now I'll thank you for your attention. If you have questions, well, I'm happy to answer.
Yeah. Thank you very much. It's very nice presentation, really well organized.